So I've seen people on the Kenshi subreddit that have been looking into base building and aren't really sure what to do or how to go about it, or having trouble getting set up and getting their butts kicked by the incoming raids. So I would like to show you how I set up my base builds, what I do about that and go about it, and hopefully it'll maybe help you guys have a better start. Now there are all kinds of ways you can start to set up your base. You can start as a solo player. You can be the wandering trader and eventually set up your own trade post. There are so many ways to start. Probably the easiest, though, is going to be either as the Freedom Seekers, because you're going to start out with a whole bunch of building supplies. You're going to have some cash on hand. You've got a great way to... You could just about immediately plunk down a base and start working. You can be the nobodies. You've got no gear except for like a pipe and some band-aids and nothing else. No cats. You don't have any building supplies. With the nobodies, you are a group of 5. With the Freedom Seekers, you are a total of 6. And with the Freedom Seekers, I believe you get the big soldier guy who is, starting out. It's going to have a lot of stats. I think it's called like the old soldier or something to that effect. So if you're wanting to immediately get into base building and have probably the easiest start to base building, then this is probably the way to go. So if we go to number 6, old soldier, right? So this is going to be your character that has increased combat stats. They're going to start with a saber, where everybody else is, kind of not so great. So I like to make my old soldier guy usually a Shek, because I like the combat stats. They have increased toughness, and that's going to be great when you're getting into battles. When everybody else gets knocked out and gets knocked down, your old soldier guy is going to be the one that's likely going to be able to get up and keep the fight. So he's usually the one I start with. Now, if you are new to all this, I would recommend getting at least one of every race, because there are some interesting dialogues that happen as you're exploring, and when you go into different towns, you might get different responses. It really increases sort of the lore of Kenshi and kind of everything you are going to experience. We are going to make this guy... He's going to be awesome. His shoulders need to be up. That's good. Look at that. Ooh, big legs. He needs the big legs, the big shoulders. You guys know what we're doing with this. Everything. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that. Hips. Big ol' hips. Bulk. Yes. Yes, look at that. Look at this monster of a thing. Right? Head size. Big. Head shape. Yes. Neck. Yes. Oh yeah. Neck length. He's got to have a big old head. Big eyes. I'm going to make... Oh, there we go. This is awesome. Eye height. We're going to make him a banana. He's going to have nice little... we'll make his mouth normal. Antenna. Long antenna. Horns. Long. Oh yeah. That's a manly jaw. We're going to... I do. Look at this guy. This guy is amazing. Okay, I think we've got this guy all kitted out. He's good to go. We've got Hiver, Shack, Human, make a Scorchlander, and Greenlander. Okay, you see that's fine. And you are going to start with these guys somewhere in a way station. Now it's going to be random as to which way station. So you might get this one here. You might get the one off over in this way. Off over this way is the one we are going to prefer. But, beggars can't be choosers. So you can either just keep reloading until you get the spot you like, or you can deal with it as it is. So you can see here, Old Soldier. Great starting stats in weapons, and I mean, it's fantastic. Athletics, this is going to be your go-to guy. It's going to be the one that keeps everybody safe. But here is not where we want to be. Because even though we can start building right here, right now, if you look at everyone else's combat stats, they kind of suck. They're not great. And with it not being great, we're going to have a tough time getting into any fights. Worth noting, the Holy Nation will not like your old soldier. So I would recommend not going to the Holy Nation anytime soon. But what we want to do, at least how I prefer to do this, is I want to get to the hub. So I'm going to take these guys, I'm going to run them over to the hub, and I'll see you when we get there. So as you can see, we have made it to everyone's favorite hub. Probably the safest way I've found to get here from this way station is you've got a couple avenues you could take. You could try to cross directly, but that's a lot of acid damage and it's more expedient, but also probably fairly higher risk. You could go up and try to dip around Akron's shield here, but we've got a skeleton in party. They see him, they're not happy. We can try to dip through here, but that is also a bit of a RNG. Maybe there's stuff in there beating us up, maybe there's not. Might run into some of the robot crabs. That's not a good deal. You can try to push straight through Venge, but I don't like this area because it's all canyons. You've got obviously those big old sky beams shooting down at you, and you also have a lot of those little groups of the headless skeletons that are running around that'll beat you up. Now, they won't take anything from you, they just want to beat you up, but being that all these guys are so unskilled, even if anyone does wake up, by the time you do, there's usually another group trying to beat you down. So if you don't get hit by the sky beams, you're usually going to get beat up by those little guys running around. So I like to come around over this way. We stay right on the edge of Venge. We come around through here, and then we just follow this way, and I like to go up because there's, the swamp area can be pretty dangerous. So we just want to curl around. We've got this way station. If we have any bandits that are following us, we can just go to the way station and they'll help beat them up. And then we're just a river crossing from the hub. So that is how I found the safest way. If you start here, curl around, follow that path, get to the hub. As you can see, some of the guys are a little beat up. We've had a little bandits on the way, but using our superior speed from running all that way, we've managed mostly to be all right. So we're in the hub, and you'll see that one of the reasons to start this is there are a lot of building supplies. You'll see that they also have a lot of wheat straw, and I've already learned the blueprint to wheat straw farming, so that's super important. So that means right from the get-go we can start making bread. But we're not quite ready to build yet because, as you know, we've got no skills. We've got nothing to defend against even the most basic of guys. So the first thing we're going to do, I like to buy this house here. So I'm going to buy it for 1,500. And so we're going to come on over here and we're going to repair it. And this is going to be our starting station. We are going to use some of our building materials for this, and that's okay. It's not a big deal. We don't really need them right now. And we can speed this up along. But what we're going to be doing is using this as storage and for getting our tech going. So we're going to get a small research bench. And I can't remember, is it the arrow keys? No? Ah! It's those keys. So we're going to stick you right there. Confirm. They're going to build. And as we explore, because again, we need to get strong. So before we make any base whatsoever, we have to be able to defend it. And that means getting all these guys combat stats similar to the old soldier. Right? So we want to have at least 2025, similar to that, similar here as well. We want combat skills to actually defend and protect ourselves with. So that's important. So that's what we're going to do. But as we do that, we're going to be collecting all sorts of stuff. We're going to be finding books. We're going to be finding maybe some CPUs and blueprints and all those kind of good things that we want. Better farm. It might be tier 2 we might need for that. So that's okay. As you see, we need a couple books for baking. We're going to need cotton for cotton farming, and we're going to want that because we're going to need to be able to make fabric. So there's all kinds of things here that we want from the get-go, right? So let's get gear storage, and oh look, item storage, and why the hell not? We can learn public sales for now. But there's a lot of things here that we are going to need and want, and we're going to need that before we do anything. So this is going to be, it's really important to get this done now. So that's what they're going to do. Best to have a, if you have any human for your science here, since they have a bonus to XP for that. So that's just going to help get everything done faster. So don't put a dummy on there. If you got a smart guy, put them in place, and that's what Gurgle here is doing. Gurgle's a smart one. And so from here, this is our staging area. All the books we're going to learn. Any sort of useful building materials we're going to store here. And from here we are going to go and explore, just like we might do in any other kind of playthrough. We're going to find armor, we're going to find goodies, we're going to find, you know, shiny new weapons. And as we go along, yeah, it's probably covered up here a little bit by my recording software, but we're going to prospect. So if you need to be outside, we'll have him go out while she's learning. We're going to prospect. And as you prospect, you're going to see a bunch of stuff pop up. First, it's going to tell you here what zone you're in case you need to know that. And you know, give us some wind speed. Wind speed's important to know because we're going to be setting up some windmills, and obviously you need wind for that. Water's important for a well. Fertility is important for growing. And stone, it's going to show you where stone, iron, and copper are. So that's good for being able to mine it up, because we're going to need that for building supplies as well. And over here, the environment, green and arid. Now these are important. Now obviously the higher these stats, the better, but there are certain crops that we might farm that need those to, you know, that will influence how well those actually grow and the kind of yield we get from that growth. So as we're exploring and getting all kinds of goodies and seeing all the kind of cool stuff Kenshi has to offer, we're going to be prospecting. Every so often, prospect, see what's there. Do you see a cool area? Prospect, see what's there. And basically by the time that our core group here is built up and skilled enough to be able to defend against really whatever might come at us, we're gonna have some idea of where we actually want to be set up. So we're gonna do that for a bit. They're gonna learn. You know, we're getting there. We're getting smart. But we'll be back, and hopefully by then we'll have some of these guys slightly geared, some sort of combat. And all right, so we are back from a bit of an adventure out. Did ourselves a fair bit of fighting against some of those starving bandits. Managed to take on a few dusty bandits when they were engaged in another fight, and we were able to get to the Lost Library with more than a little bit of luck and a lot of getting beaten up. We came away from there with some goodies. Got ourselves some new weapons. Have ourselves a few cats. More importantly, the books that we were able to get from that. We're getting some very important upgrades here. So obviously the makeshift wall is incredibly important. You need to actually be able to you know, protect your base. So there's no sense in trying to build up a base until you've got that going. And because we start with the wheat straw, well, we may as well learn how to bake so we can actually turn that into bread. There's no sense in farming this if we can't actually use it for food. You can see here we can also, if we want, start training up lock picking and combat dummies. That's not going to be useful for this crew, since you can see their combat stats are already pretty decent. These are going to be, you know, higher than any of those early dummies will train us for. And there's no sense in paying the shinobi group for the 10k just to train on their crappy little training dummies if after a fight or two we're already there. And as you can see for this poor fella, he's already down an arm. It's real. It's big sad. But you know, you look at that face, and he's getting through it all okay. But that is you know, that is again part of the price we're going to pay. Now, trying to armor these guys up immediately is incredibly expensive. You know, for even just a decently protective armor, you know, you're looking at standard grade, you're looking at like 3K a pop. And just for these standard grade cloth pants, you know, it's 1,500. So trying to armor these guys up, this crew early on like this is a really rough gig. However, the smart play is when I was selling off an AdMag over here, I went ahead and picked up the leather armor blueprint and the samurai cloth pants blueprint. What's nice about that is they're very simple to make. One needs leather, one needs cloth. Now, this early on, cotton farming we're not going to be able to do yet, since obviously we do not have a farm up. But that's going to be a great way to get that going. And leather we can get quite easily from the hide. Now that's a little more dangerous because probably the best way this early on is with the beak things. And of course, you know, they hurt. But my old soldier guy here, he's gotten his stats up to where he can basically 1v1 a beak thing. So as long as you don't crowd it, because you know they do the AoE attacks, so you don't want to crowd the beak thing. But if you can get your old soldier with those kind of combat stats, and I've got him a pretty, well, I won't say pretty nice, it's a decent, it's an okay for starting out brand new. He's kitted out quite nicely in the weapons department. But you know, you get him fighting that, and you know, work these guys up behind and start stabbing or shooting with your crossbow. Get back to training. There you go. Then you'll be able to get up that in no time. Alrighty, so it's been a little bit. You can see we've upgraded from our little shack over here, and we went ahead and purchased the old stormhouse here. And you can see up top we have our tier 2 research, and here at the bottom we have the initial crafting. And even though you can see it's been a few days, I think it's been well worth it. We have a little bit of cat saved up, which is good. But we have ourselves some decent armor. And those three there are all crafted via the leather workbench. Getting these pieces here, the boots and the chainmail, require a actual proper like smithing station. We have to do mining. We can do that when we're set up. This is all about getting ourselves geared up reasonably quickly and halfway protected. So to get standard quality, you're going to need a base of 40 in your armor smithing. Now you got an additional 12 just from making everybody the pants and the armor and some hats. So the best way that I have found to get that to 40 so you can start cranking out the standard equipment, which you can also start to sell and actually make a decent bit of money on, is by making leather out of animal skins. And so you can get that just by, when you're wandering, you know, if you're not trying to target it directly, just in your exploration as you gather, you're going to come across some critters, beat them up, take their skin. When you get to stats like about this, you get about 30 defense, 30 attack. You can really start to work on the beak things in a somewhat reliable manner without worrying about dying. So your old soldier guy is probably going to be the first one who can do that. Everyone else, you know, depending on what their luck's been, they may or may not be anywhere near that, but that's okay. We've got armor now. We can actually start to take those fights, and if we are 1d2, we can really start working up a bank of money and in crafting. But for now, if we haven't already, it's time to start looking for places we might want to set up. So if you've not come across anything interesting yet in your travels, then now's a good time now that you've got some armor. Okay, so after a little wandering, I've decided to settle in Shem. You can see where I'm at right over here. There's a lot of great areas within this spot. It's a little bit of an oasis. You've got water, pretty plants, great view, and it's quiet except for the times when it's not. And you get some big things, some dust bandits, some starving bandits, but overall nothing, at least at this point, like too insane. So this area's got a lot we're gonna want. You know, we can see right here, small copper, iron. We're gonna have stone, and if we prospect, You can see we've got plenty of water around us, which obviously fertility is great. Stone, iron, copper, good stuff. It's green 10%, arid 100%. So what that means, if we go here to farming, so a cotton farm, which we're going to want, not great because it's arid. But for us, for what we're doing here, even a little bit of cotton is fine, because eventually we're going to get to a point where we don't really need it, and we're just going to start banking it up. So it can be kind of crappy now, and that's okay. But you can see our wheat, not bad, 60% crop yield. That's not too shabby for our small group here. It's not the best, but far from the worst. Vegetables here, not great. But this is not a bad spot. So what we'll probably do is set up a house here, and then we'll wall off that area. And it's a pretty good way to expand. There's a lot of things we can do. But the house, we'll put some crossbow turrets up top, and that can help cover where we need to mine. And it's not bad. You can see the wind here as well, which is important. Wind speed is pretty decent. It's not too bad. So I'm gonna do some basic building, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we have the basic outline of the starter base area. As you can see, it's a little much for the 6 people. It's doable. You gotta have a little patience. This size 8 would probably be pretty good, because then you could have a bit more on the mining and refining. But for the moment, for this, 6 is fine. We don't need too much more than that. Okay, so as you can see, we have some dust bandits that have decided to come pay us a visit, but that's okay, because our combat skills are high enough to take on the dust bandits and not have too many problems. A nice thing is we have a beak thing here, and that definitely softens some of them up, and you're going to have that because they roam. So when you have bandit groups trying to attack you, it's very possible they might run into beak things and either get wiped out or very softened up before they get to you. But let's see how they handle it, which should be okay. And just like that, not a problem. Now we're not going to say no to that free food out there. So we're going to go grab that. Take that and all of that. We've got plenty of nasty meat for our hiver. And everyone is just going to go ahead and repair up. Yep, rather. Okay, he didn't get really hurt. Which is nice. Does he not have medical? He does. No, that's why. Okay, and repair up. So, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. What we will probably do, and this is where, in a situation, we can kind of decide what we might want to do. I don't know if this here is passable terrain or not. Might be a little, I think that might be just a little too steep. If so, we have ourselves a nice barrier. We can make a T intersection here for a nice kill box. Oh, look at that random blood spider. That's fun. But what we're going to do here is make I'm thinking about having a shop opened up, and that way we can make a T intersection here, so things will filter in and get shot up by all the crossbows we're going to set up. So when this gets closer to that, I will kind of show what that looks like. As you can see, we do have some farms going. Got a wheat straw, got a cotton, it's growing. For your farming, Greenlanders have a racial bonus to it, which is good. Same with cooking as well. So if you have any Greenlanders, you definitely want them on your farming and cooking detail, just because they will be the best at it. And if you ever run low on food, and if you're And if you're low on cats, again, we've got copper here. But we have Smuggler's Bar, which is like a whopping 10-second run from here, from this current location. So even if we get low on food, even if we're getting close to starving, it's not all that much trouble to run a guy over there to pick up some food. And if we get a raid, so we demand 7 hours, not a problem. If we get a raid that is more than we think we can handle, we can just run our guys over there until it's over. So it's a pretty good safety net. Alrighty, and the base itself is pretty much done as far as starting goes. There are still things we want to do. We want to get ourselves a little crafting hall in one of these corners. But you can see we already have 2 medium wheat fields, and those are going pretty well. We've got 2 small cotton fields, and those will eventually get up to medium. Again, they're not super good with it just being that 10% yield, but some cotton's better than no cotton. You can see we have ourselves a little kill box idea here. We've got this section out here, kind of has some overlapping angles of fire. This seems to be where, so far, this space has been attacked from this side. So this little overlap, this little kill box is pretty nice. You'll see we've got some bandits, some basic crossbows. We're going to see how that works out here in a second. This side didn't quite work out. Sometimes the building in Kenshi is very finicky with these walls. So you know, might need to play around with that a bit to get it exactly how you want. I wanted a similar thing over here where I had something jutting out, but every time I tried to put a wall, it just kept facing the wrong way, and I said, well, I'm not too bothered. I've got, again, a similar situation over here though. We have crossbows this way and this way, so we basically have an L-shaped kind of crossfire situation on the enemy. So good for us, bad for them. On top of that, I have this inner courtyard, and so I can get crossbows up here as well. So if we're in real dire straits, if we have to abandon the walls or some such, or if we want to fight them out in here, we can have crossbows that overlook this entire area as well. So it's a pretty good setup. We've got this nice airlock, which is pretty important. You don't want just one gate to your base. If you got your main gate, you want that airlock situation that allows you to slow down and funnel and weed out. And as you get more powerful crossbows, especially get those rotary crossbows, I mean, it gets really nasty. Let's see how this does. We'll just have this play. You guys shooting? Oh, there you go. They have a pretty great view. Not hitting anybody. Oh, there's a hit. Look at that. Some more showing up. They are not deterred. You see those crossbows there have not yet been built, so. Repair, flick, repair. No, don't unlock. Repair. There you go. Do that. So you can see these crossbows, they hit pretty hard. They're not the fastest shooting, but that's where those better crossbows that we'll eventually get come into play. Ooh, what a hit. Made a bad mistake. You don't want to come in here, friend. I mean, I know they're hungry. And when you're hungry, you make some bad decisions, but that was definitely not one to make. So obviously this gate was open. All our defenses aren't up yet, but you get the idea of how this functions and how this might scale up as you get better crossbows. And if you want to add more people, I like to use skeletons on turrets since they don't need any food. So they're just there permanently. They don't need, they can They're great. They just stay there forever. Now, why don't you medical yourself up first? And cool. And that was oh, hello there, friend. Yeah, take that 32 damage. So obviously we need. Oh, you can see that bolt sticking through him. This poor fella. Look. Aw, poor guy. He's just hungry. But that's kind of the starter base. That's kind of what you're looking at. Again, you can get pretty wild with how you create your kill box and what you choose to do with it. And I don't. Where the hell is he going? What are you doing, buddy? I don't know. Bloodlust, I suspect. He's so angry. And we can put you into bed. Oh, that's why. Oh, I see. Well, why don't you get some crossbow practice in? Where's the other one? There it is. This goober over here is... He's not content with being... with having a bolt through his head. Let's see if we can get a sweet action cam shot of these guys. Oh, it's not so much fun, is it? You better run, my friend. Yeah, that's right. Get out of here. And that's our base. It's pretty nice. Pretty defendable. Very simple. Again, it's very doable with the starting 6 here. If you had more, obviously it would be faster getting building supplies made ahead of time. Just getting those stacked up is super, super important. And I kind of slacked off, and that's why it took so long to get this base going. But no real rush. I knew I could survive anything in the area. But when you are setting up your base, I would highly recommend getting just a buttload of these base building materials. You want your walls, you need your gates. So that's really your priority is that. But I mean, that's it. You got your base, you got your walls. We've got our food going on. We're actually making bread. Can you believe it? Flicking you to harvest. Do we have anything in the bread baskets yet? Not yet. That's okay. But we got some. Look at that bread there. My gosh. We are living the life, everybody. We have bread. All right. So I hope the video has been helpful. I hope it's explained sort of in a way base building. I'm not a super great base builder, as you can clearly see by this, but I do like the area of Shem. I love the view. I love the little oasis pockets of water and the pretty plant life. And having guys show up kind of all the time to try to take your bread is great because you're never in any sense of boredom. There's always something to beat up. All right, enjoy Kenshi.